A King's Vision, Solomon and the Covenant. King Solomon, known for his unparalleled wisdom and immense wealth, was a figure of great significance in the history of Israel. His reign marked a golden era, a time of peace and prosperity, but beyond his material achievements, Solomon's spiritual legacy is what truly set him apart. King Solomon was the son of King David, the revered king who united the tribes of Israel and established Jerusalem as its capital. David's legacy was not just in his conquests and governance, but in his deep relationship with God. This relationship was solidified through a divine covenant. Solomon inherited not only his father's throne, but also his wisdom and wealth. His court was a place of grandeur, filled with advisors, scholars, and treasures from across the known world. Under Solomon's rule, Israel reached unprecedented heights of cultural and economic prosperity. God made a covenant with David, promising that his lineage would endure forever. This covenant was a divine assurance that David's descendants would continue to rule, provided they remained faithful to God's commandments. He promised a lasting dynasty, a lineage that would carry the torch of leadership and faith. This promise was not just about political power, but about a spiritual mission to lead the people in accordance with divine will. Solomon was chosen to build God's temple, a task of immense significance. This temple was to be the physical manifestation of God's presence on earth, a place where the divine and the mortal would meet. This temple would be a special place, not just for worship, but as a symbol of the covenant between God and his people. It was to be a beacon of faith, hope, and divine love. It would be a place where God's presence would dwell, a sanctified space where the faithful could come to seek guidance, offer sacrifices, and experience the divine. The temple was more than a building, it was a symbol of God's covenant with Israel. Every stone, every artifact, and every ritual performed within its walls was a testament to this sacred bond. It was a symbol of God's covenant, a physical reminder of his promises and his unwavering love for his chosen people. The temple stood as a testament to the enduring relationship between the divine and the mortal. It represented God's love for his people, a love that was unconditional and eternal. The temple was a place where this love was celebrated and where the faithful could connect with the divine in a profound way. Solomon understood this great responsibility. He knew that building the temple was not just a royal duty, but a divine mission. He approached this task with reverence, wisdom, and a deep sense of purpose. He prepared to build a temple worthy of God's glory, a structure that would stand the test of time and serve as a lasting testament to the covenant between God and his people. Solomon's vision and dedication ensured that the temple would be a masterpiece of faith, architecture, and divine purpose. Blueprints of Faith, the temple's grand design. The Temple of Solomon, also known as the First Temple, stands as a monumental testament to ancient architectural prowess and spiritual devotion. Its design was not just a matter of aesthetics, but a reflection of deep religious significance and meticulous planning. The temple was designed with precise measurements, ensuring that every aspect of its structure adhered to divine specifications. Ancient architects and builders worked tirelessly, guided by sacred texts and divine inspiration. It was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. These dimensions were not arbitrary, they were chosen to create a space that was both grand and harmonious, reflecting the glory of the divine. A cubit, the unit of measurement used, was about 18 inches. This ancient measurement system was crucial in ensuring the temple's proportions were perfect. So the temple was about 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. This made it an imposing structure, visible from afar, symbolizing the presence of the divine among the people. The temple had two main rooms, each serving a distinct purpose in the religious practices of the time: the Holy Place and the Holy of Holies. The Holy Place was the larger of the two rooms and was used for daily worship and rituals. The Holy Place contained a golden lampstand, which was kept burning continuously, symbolizing the eternal light of God. It also held a table for the sacred bread, known as the showbread, which represented God's provision and presence. Incense was burned on an altar of gold, filling the temple with a fragrant aroma that symbolized the prayers of the people rising to heaven. Only priests could enter this holy area, performing their duties with reverence and dedication, ensuring that the rituals were carried out according to sacred traditions. The Holy of Holies was even more sacred. It was the innermost and most revered part of the temple, where the presence of God was believed to dwell. It housed the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest that contained the tablets of the Ten Commandments, Aaron's rod, and a pot of manna. This room was so holy that only the high priest could enter, and only once a year on the Day of Atonement, to offer sacrifices for the sins of the people. A symphony of stone and cedar, materials of the divine. The finest materials were used to construct the temple. Stone was quarried from the earth. It was cut and shaped with great care. Cedar wood was brought from Lebanon. This wood was known for its beauty and durability. Gold was used to overlay the temple walls. Precious stones adorned the interior. Every detail reflected the wealth of Solomon's kingdom. More importantly, it showed the reverence for God. Whispers of creation, the temple's silent construction. The temple's construction was a remarkable feat. The stones were cut so precisely, they fit together perfectly. No mortar was needed to bind them. The Bible tells us no sound of tools was heard. Imagine the scene. Hundreds of workers labored together, yet there was no clanging of hammers, no scraping of chisels. The silence would have been profound. It was a testament to the skill of the builders. It also spoke to the sacredness of the task. Section 5. Holiness in every corner, the temple's sacred layout. The temple's design was not arbitrary. Every element held deep spiritual significance. The two main rooms represented the earthly realm and God's heavenly dwelling. The holy place, accessible only to priests, symbolized the need for mediation between humanity and God. The Holy of Holies, containing the Ark of the Covenant, represented the very presence of God. This room was shrouded in darkness and entered only once a year by the high priest. This design emphasized the awe and reverence due to God. Section 6. The Ark of the Covenant, dwelling place of God's presence. The Ark of the Covenant was the most sacred object in the temple. It was a wooden chest overlaid with gold. Inside were the 2 tablets of the Ten Commandments. The Ark represented God's covenant with his people. It was a reminder of God's laws and his presence among them. The Ark was placed in the Holy of Holies. It was a visible reminder of God's promise. He would dwell among his people. Section 7. A temple dedicated, a nation rejoices. The construction of the temple took 7 years. When it was finished, there was a great celebration. Solomon dedicated the temple to God in a grand ceremony. He prayed for God's blessing on the nation. He asked for God's presence to dwell in the temple. The people rejoiced. They offered sacrifices to God. They celebrated the completion of this magnificent structure. It was a day of great joy and spiritual significance for all of Israel. Section 8. A legacy etched in stone, the temple's enduring impact. Solomon's temple stood for centuries. It was a symbol of God's presence in Jerusalem. It was the center of Jewish worship. People came from all over the kingdom to offer sacrifices and to pray. The temple was a reminder of God's covenant with David. It was a source of hope for the future. Even though the temple was eventually destroyed, its legacy lived on. It became a model for later temples. It inspired generations of Jews and Christians alike. Section 9. Echoes of the Temple, Lessons for Today. The story of Solomon's temple is more than just history. It is a narrative that transcends time, offering wisdom and guidance for our modern lives. The temple, with its grandeur and meticulous design, was not merely a physical structure, but a symbol of deeper spiritual truths. It holds valuable lessons for us today. These lessons are embedded in the very stones of the temple, in the scriptures that describe its construction, and in the reverence with which it was approached by the people of that time. It reminds us of the importance of obedience to God. Obedience was a cornerstone in the building of the temple. Solomon followed God's specific instructions to the letter, ensuring that every detail was in accordance with divine will. This teaches us the value of adhering to spiritual principles in our own lives. Solomon built the temple according to God's specific instructions. Reverence for God. The temple was a testament to the reverence and awe that the people had for God. The materials used, the gold, the precious stones, and the intricate carvings all reflected a deep respect and honor for the divine. The temple's design and the materials used reflected the awe and respect due to God, God's presence. The temple was more than just a building. It was a sacred space where God's presence was felt. It served as a constant reminder to the people that God was among them, guiding and protecting them. The temple was a constant reminder of God's presence among his people. This sense of divine presence is something we can still seek today, even without a physical temple. It is about finding sacredness in our everyday lives and recognizing the divine in the world around us. Though we may not have a physical temple today, these lessons are timeless. They transcend the physical and enter the realm of the spiritual, reminding us that the principles of obedience, reverence, and awareness of God's presence are as relevant now as they were in ancient times. They remind us to approach God with humility, obedience, and a recognition of his holiness. In our fast-paced modern world, these ancient lessons offer a grounding force, a way to connect with something greater than ourselves, and a path to spiritual fulfillment.